for development for Africa now? Is that really what we need? And if yes, what does that actually mean?
ICT infrastructure as an industry is very, very expensive, and in as much as we want a local solution, I think the laying and construction of infrastructure can be important.
I agree that we should create new solutions, but it should be a combination of both. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We don't need to waste or spend a lot of time trying to create something that is already in existence.
So if they can do that too, we can teach them anything. They're clever. So it is our responsibility to go back to the peripheral of the country.
Africa is not by no means we're not a small market. We are the biggest emerging market, and corporates who ignore that Africa is rising, they do that in their own period.
ICT-based innovations in Zimbabwe and Southern Africa in general they're not really demand-driven. I'll give a classic example of what I said is that you come up with a concept and it's exciting to yourself, but really there hasn't been any correlation to the environment to which it's supposed to serve.
We are normally taught from solution and then application of solution to a problem. We are not taught from problem identification to create solution leading to a demand-driven scenario.
People in software always build bloated products that people don't need. Making something ultra simple is so important, but also I'm assuming for African data issues, they must be very lean. They can't be bloated like me.
But this young man had shown a programming language. I was amazed with the nobility of the idea, but I have to say I questioned the practicality of it.
I don't think language is the biggest problem we face in Africa. I was kind of noting the problem. I think the problem one is energy, whether for our cell phones, for cooking, for whatever, food, transport, happiness, public health, and stuff like that. And I think the question is, how do we use tech? Whether it's tech from here, whether it's tech from Europe, to bring food to the table, to bring happiness, and etc. etc.
Zimbabweans right now, they don't trust local products. That's the thing. We lost trust during the economic turmoil. Right now we don't really trust anything that is made in Zim, we don't really trust it. Even here, if I come and I say my suit is from England, people will be like, yeah. But if I said I bought it, the tailor over there, he made my suit, you'll be like, no, I think that's what I want to have.
So there's a lot of psychological shift that's required, and I think it's a bit too late for those who are currently making policies. But I think moving forward in the future, we really have to take into consideration who we are as a people, our languages, and our own identity.
In Canada, we have many different, probably nearly hundreds of Aboriginal groups that live throughout the country. And this issue of language, because they're losing their languages because in the digital world it's all English. This is a very big issue for them. And it's happening around the world, and obviously, this is the first time I've ever heard it within this context. And it's disconcerting, and the truth is there are no easy answers because we have to live in the world that we live in, not the world that we wish we lived in. As to why tech has never grown in Africa, I think this is a debate that's raging around the world. Many of you probably know about. Why is Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, Apple, you go through HP, every major tech company in the world, why do they come from the United States? They don't come from Canada, they don't come from the UK, they don't come from Germany, they don't come from Japan. The biggest ones in the world come from the United States. And I would argue the reason why is because the government has got out of the way in the US.
Do we want to mass produce low quality that will actually never have a chance on the global market? Or do we want to go the long route of actually industrializing and doing things properly? So I want to agree with our guest here in saying that Zimbabwe has taken too many shortcuts and Africa seems to take shortcuts. Part of it is history. And part of it is that in wanting to address a lot of our historical inadequacies, we've made some of those decisions. And I do think we need to look at best practice.
One of the things that, why I mentioned issues that are so long-term, such as language and so forth, is we have to do our 10,000 hours. Steve Zuckerberg and so forth as countries did their 10,000 hours.
I see people passionately work on an app that, in my opinion and feasibility and understanding of the market and demand, it's got no relevance, it's got no mass, it's got no applicability that is scalable. I'm not saying anything negative against people, but that's why right now you ask how many Zimbabwean apps do you use on your phones?
You know, Zimbabweans can come up with quality products that are capable of competing on the international market. I know of a few apps, the Odd Angels app, I know of Shona Weather app, I don't remember the name, but there's quite a few of these apps coming up that can compete on an international level.
We have failed. We have failed our young generation. But I believe right now what we can do is start with the little ones. Let's teach them what is there. I mean, right now, Econet is, the vision is to provide telecommunications of world-class standard and ethics. World-class standards. Let's teach them what's there.
You've got development, you've got technology. Now these two entities don't evolve at the same pace. Developmental issues do not arise as fast as technology evolves. So where you do not have checks and balances, technology will easily overtake development, making a lot of ICT for development initiatives obsolete.
What can we do as a people is possibly decide, make decisions, key decisions at a policy level, at a grassroots level, as to what solutions do we need, what problems are we facing, what challenges are we facing. Do we learn and pick up on a few things that people have out there, or on one hand, do we pick up on the things that we need to build on our own?
We're very passionate about innovation, and not just innovation for the sake of it, but we're very passionate about entrepreneurship. And the reason we exist is to be able to support a conducive environment for young entrepreneurs to grow, to develop whatever sector, whatever activity they're doing economically, to ensure that it's viable, that they can sustain themselves. And that's why we get up every morning, essentially.